We are on the way to one of the largest travel and campervan exhibitions, not only in Europe but also worldwide. It's the CMT in Stuttgart. With over 11 halls, it hosts about 1,500 exhibitors, and 8 halls are only for caravanning and camping. Crazy, no? Since we are driving our own campervan through Europe, we really wanted to see the self-converted campervans and the accessories. But let's start in the beginning. So we drove to Stuttgart, parked in one of the park and ride places that are a lot cheaper than parking at the exhibition directly, and then we took the train directly to the exhibition center. The cool thing is, with the fare ticket that you have bought online, you can also use the public transport within Stuttgart on the same day. We took the very first train right at the opening hours, and therefore the entire train was very full. And the planning of the doors in the train station was a little bit difficult until everyone could get through. We were like stuck a bit. But okay, Germany is maybe the camper nation. Therefore, we decided to go within the week and hope that it's not going to be so full. But still, it was quite busy. After orienting us a little bit, we decided to go to one of the first halls that holds campervans. And here you can see it already. The very first campervans that we saw were directly, completely off-road, expensive chassis. We felt like this was the theme of the entire exhibition this year. But let's have a look inside. The look and feel is very modern, but as you can see, Lee couldn't even put himself upright. He is 1.88 meters. It is a bit surprising and also a little bit sad to see that nowadays there's still a lot of campervans that come straight with the gel batteries instead of the new lithium batteries that we would be using. These gel batteries are a lot heavier, slower to charge, and also only usable to about half of their capacity. This one here comes with a 100 ampere hours battery. It's a lithium phosphate one, since it's a little bit higher priced and off-grid, but with 100 ampere hours you don't really come very far. This, for example, you would get for around 100,000 euros. And as you can see, he was not really convinced by the price value either. And after looking at some of the standard vans, that in my opinion are more or less same, we made it to our favorite part, which is called the Selbstausbau Messe, which is like more do-it-yourself mobile home conversion and tips. This one is part of the entire exhibition, but only takes place for 4 days, and they started doing this in 2025. It was really cool because there were several small companies from Germany, but also from Switzerland, who were showing their self-converted vans and what they could be doing for you camperizing your vehicle. And again, as you can see, the trend is going into off-grid, off-road and self-sufficient. And here you can see another Mercedes Sprinter completely built out as an off-road camper from a German brand called Schmiede. This one, for example, had a very interesting bathroom section. So you basically had a cupboard in the front.
Okay.
Ah.
Oh, elegant.
Jetzt kommt die Dusche.
And then you open it up until you can see the shower. And in the shower you still have to open a small space where the toilet comes out. I think it's very smart, but at the same time, I would like to have my toilet more accessible. Overall, the camper had an amazing quality, and he told us that this camper was already in use for the last 2 years and it still looked like new. Completely perfect.
Das ist ein Schweizer.
And then we saw this beauty. It is a classical Mercedes and converted by a professional Swiss company. They explained to us that they do the build in-house, but they have a partner company that supports on the electronic things. Although for me it was a bit too dark inside, but it was nicely done. And we really liked the thermal mats that they put around all of the windows. Really well done, and I think they could buy it from another company as well. It is called Project Camper. Here they built in 3 canisters. Usually it's 2 canisters of fresh water and maybe 1 of grey water, but Lee was more interested in the closing function or the closing clip that they were using. So you just have to put your finger in so that it opens up, and once it's closed you can be sure that it's really closed. If you have ever driven a camper van, then you know that it's very typical that you forget to close all of your drawers, and in the first curve everything will just fall out. Right next to it was another off-road camper. This time it was a VW Crafter and from another Swiss company. The company is called VANLIFE, and as you can see, also on the outside they added a lot of aluminium or steel structure and really thought about the possibilities how to use it for your bike, maybe even a scooter inside, like for example adding your bicycle inside or your skiers somewhere, or for whatever kind of outdoor sports you would need it. I think this is exactly the cool thing about companies that camperize something for you, or if you build your own camper van, you can really think about what you will need it for, because we are all different and we all have different needs. So finally I could sneak inside, and they had an induction cooktop, which usually requires a lot of electricity and a lot of batteries. And I really liked the colors, although it wouldn't be completely mine with the orange, but I think it was very modern and nicely done. In general, the colors were nice, the materials were well used, and the overall look and feel was very modern yet simple.
Chulo que lo que tenemos nosotros. Mira, está hecho directamente con imán.
Now we saw this sweet little camper from the company Ellie Vans, and what first drew my attention was the shower head that was fixed directly with a magnet on the outside door, which I thought was brilliant.
T6, T61 und jetzt machen wir halt den V710. Das ist ja das gleiche, also da ist Ford genauso wie VW, die haben ein Fahrzeug zusammen kompensiert. Also der neue Transporter.
Then he explained to me that this company is from Cologne and is specialized in camperizing VW buses like the T6 and now the newest model, which is the same model that Ford is using. So this makes it maybe a little bit more interesting for other people who don't want to have a VW bus out of economic reasons. After talking to him a bit, I was really interested in the build itself, because he said that they're even pressing their own furniture and wooden materials, so everything is one piece. This means not only that you can select the color, but also it should not make any sound when you are on the road. And with the rooftop tent, you can easily stand inside, evenly. So I'm already thinking about getting a smaller van as an addition at one point, maybe. I really liked it. Right next to the other small van, we also saw this one from Moby Vans. It was also very nicely done, but I still preferred the Ellie Vans. As our last camperized van, we had this beautiful van here. But one thing that we really saw with a lot of German self-converted vans was their love to felt. Felt is a dense and non-woven fabric, and it is warm, flexible, and with good insulating and sound dampening properties. Wherefore I think it is used in a lot of camper vans, but at the same time, in my opinion, it's not the nicest material to use, and also it collects a lot of dust. But hey, it's better than plastic or just leaving the doors without anything else. But also here, the quality of the build is top notch. Everything was absolutely perfect, and they also thought about the weight of the entire vehicle. So they told me that you would still have like 500 kilograms that you could add to it. In Germany and Europe, you can drive a vehicle up to 3.5 tons without an extra license. Therefore, weight is super important. I really liked the open design where you have a convertible bed in the back. So during the day you can have a very large table, and then you also have another table in the front where you can use both of the pilot and co-pilot seats. And I also like that a lot of these companies already think about the possibility to work from inside the camper van, like we do as well. And it's not always easy to work in a normal standard van. So, I mean, it's the future, right? There's more and more remote workers, and working from the road is something really enjoyable. After having a look at all of these nice camper vans outside of the do-it-yourself part, we finally made it and entered. And as you can see, it is just as busy, or maybe even busier than the other halls. Camperizing your own camper is such a big thing now in Germany that I could see people from all of the age groups who are willing to build out their own van. Pretty cool. But of course, there are enough companies that would do it for you if you don't feel like it. I also think that a lot of people underestimate the time that you need for doing so. But we also saw this time a lot of these camper boxes. Basically, they are ready boxes that you can just put in your normal car and convert it to a mini camper. So you might want to have a rooftop tent on the top, or there are also boxes that are already thinking about sleeping on top of it, so that you're still sleeping in the car, but below it you have your sink or some furniture. And another camper box. I really like them because I think they're easy to use, they're easy to install, and you can convert any car into a small camper van. This company is called Squick and everything is made in Germany.
Das ist jetzt gedacht, dass man quasi das ganze Modul rauszieht, aber oben schläft, oder? Weil unten hat man dann keinen Platz mehr, gell? Hallo. Und ihr macht so kleine Helferlein mit dem 3D-Drucker,
Genau.
oder?
Den werden wir jetzt gleich auch mal anwerfen.
Cool.
Also das sind so die
We also saw this small cute stand here. They have a 3D printer and would print lifestyle camper utensils. So all of the plastic that you could just see here on the wall is printed, so you can fix all of your tools on the wall. I think this is a brilliant and simple idea that makes your life in a van just so much simpler and easier. And you can also order everything online on their website. Also, they gifted me this very sweet keychain that they just printed in their 3D printer as well. And now we're at the stand of EcoFlow. EcoFlow started with a power station. Now they have like an entire power kit, and you can basically try to install all of your electronics in the camper van only with EcoFlow, because they also have an inverter built in. It's pretty simple to use, very smart, but also a little bit more expensive than if you would be using normal lithium phosphate batteries. Here is a stand about something that I have never seen before.
Sprühkork.
It's liquid cork, and you can basically spray it on the walls of your campervan for insulation purposes and better soundproofing. I might prefer this one over the felt. In the next stand we saw some sodium batteries. It's nothing that I have seen before, and apparently sodium batteries will be most probably in the future some of the cheapest options to have, just because sodium is a very cheap resource. However, as of right now, the companies are just starting to build them, therefore they're still quite a lot more expensive, so one of these batteries here at the stand would have easily cost us around 2,000 to 3,000 euros, whereas a lithium phosphate battery would cost you right now only about 300 euros. But it's definitely a technology to keep in mind and also to have a read about it.
Der hält es aber auch warm mit einem elektrischen Durchlauf.
And now we come to the DauerShower. What does this mean? It is a small metal box that can be added to your shower system or to your water system. And then it supposedly only takes a little bit of your fresh water. And then the fresh water goes into the box. It gets filtered there again and then pushed out again through the shower. So like this you could shower for like 10 minutes, but in the end you've only used about 3 to 5 liters, which could be amazing, but the box itself is kind of expensive. It's about 3,000 euros. And when it comes to the electricity needs, it needs about 2,400 watts. So this might be a little bit difficult for some of you. And for us. And here you could see the quality and the colors that Queen Ply is offering. I have seen a lot of these companies here using Queen Ply as their material. For the self-built hall, we also wanted to see the other halls, although it was definitely our favorite. And now we found the stand of our holy grail, the dry toilet. The name of the company is Trelino, and they are located in Düsseldorf in Germany, and they're still producing everything here in Germany. It's a very simple setup. So basically you have the plastic seat where you sit on it and you can do your business, while you have a canister in the front for your urine, and you have a small bag in the back for your bigger business. Like this it gets separated and it's very easy to bring to another toilet or to just throw it away to the normal trash. For us it's one of the simplest solutions and it's very comfortable to use, so we can wholeheartedly recommend using the Trelino or any other dry toilet. This one made out of wood is a lot nicer optically, but it's also very heavy. It's like almost 12 kilos and it doesn't have a soft close. Meanwhile, the other one, the one that we have, it's called Evo. It has soft close and it's plastic, and I think it's only around 4 or 5 kilos. But then one of the workers was also showing us the premium version of the wooden toilet, where you have another extra plastic seat on top, which makes it a little bit heavier even, but now you have the soft close. So Lee of course had the brilliant idea of suggesting using a Japanese toilet seat, and I was just thinking, oh, this man is just going to laugh at us. But he actually thought it was an interesting idea and he's gonna talk about it internally. So maybe next year we're going to have a Japanese toilet for the campervan. Would be nice, no? And here is one of the Trelino's competitors, called Boxio. They also have dry toilets that in my opinion are not as nice but are very practical, and they also have sinks. And finally, another competitor to Trelino. It is also a dry toilet, but this one is thought of replacing the old chemical toilets in the RVs. So it's a little bit more complete in my opinion, because you can still use the opening outside of your camper van to get out the urine. I think that it's amazing that a lot of these products exist nowadays, because it makes van life easier but also more eco-friendly. Then apart from the composting or the dry toilet, there are also toilets like this one. It's called Lucille, that uses plastic bags, and after you're done doing your business, it basically seals your business. Yeah. Now let's go to one of my favorite stands, because I was already very exhausted and tired of walking around almost 6 hours already. I saw these chairs and I just had to lay down. I think I'm just gonna stay here. Peace out. Bye bye. No, just joking. We were really interested in this chair. It was very, very comfortable. It was about 84 euros and there were 2 different sizes. So this company is apparently specialized in chairs. It's called Crespo, and we really liked the chairs, so I might have a look on it online because they were easily set up. However, they need more space in the van than our current ones. Oof, and after like 6 hours walking around, I was tired and I was hungry. But no, after a small break, we kept going. There were still like 3 halls to see. This exhibition is so massive that we literally were in there from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and we only took a small break. Here we also found some companies that are building different kinds of camper van. For example, this one here. They really specialize on different kinds of needs for the vehicle, like when you want to take your bicycle with you or a motorcycle with you, or have some special sports that you do. This one again was a little bit more customized or individual, and it also had the queen size shower. So most probably it was more a camperizing company, a smaller one. I'm not sure about all of the holes in the furniture. I think it could be very practical for a lot of people that use the camper for sports, but for me it's not really interesting. But I think it makes sense if you want to go a lot of off-road, so you save some weight. And as we said, in general, we saw a lot of 4x4 sprinters and off-road vehicles. You can spend here a lot of money, but to be honest, I don't think that it's always necessary. There was also a section with a lot of pickup campers, so where you can buy the pickup and then the cabin apart or together. And in general, I do like the layouts of the cabins. So it's very similar to a camper van. So you have here your lounge, you have your bed, you have a small bathroom and a kitchen. But usually you have less storage place than in a camper van. But I totally would love to try this one time as well. But of course, it's also pretty pricey because a pickup like this already costs about 80,000 euros. And then the cabin itself costs another 50 to 70,000. So yeah, it is kind of pricey. Most of the cabins from the pickups, they look very similar. They have a very similar distribution and layout, also because they cannot really vary very much in this space. But again, in my opinion, it has everything you need. You can sit comfortably and it has a nice open room. But yes, having this stair right there was a bit uncomfortable, so you would not know where should I put my legs on. It's a bit weird. Now we saw a few more standardized models again from different kinds of companies, and we really feel that every year they become more and more the same. Also because it's difficult to still have more ideas, more engineering, whatsoever to change the look, the feel, the materials.
Ganz okay. Da muss man auch so reingreifen, das ist ganz gut.
One of the brands that we think does a very good job with the standard campers is, for example, La Strada, but also you have Pössl and Adria and Benimar. There's like a lot of brands. And overall we think that the camper vans were getting more expensive after COVID, because during COVID a lot of people wanted to go camping, wanted to go to vacation, but they couldn't really leave. So camping got more and more hyped, and I think still it's very, very hyped, but I do think that the demand will go down a little bit. We also have seen a lot of campers now in Kleinanzeigen and eBay that are already getting sold again. Now this is a Pössl, and Pössl really has these vans that can be very, very long. So I think the max is 1.96 m where you can sleep in, and especially for tall people this can be very cool. But what you get on the walls then is this kind of plastic. And to be honest, some of these standard vans are very nice. You can see they're light colored, they feel comfortable. This one has a very interesting shower solution, so you can basically take the shower in the middle of the van, and it's a good solution to save some space and still have an entire bathroom somehow. And if you travel with 4 people, for example with kids, you can also have a rooftop on the top, and then there you can sleep with 4 people. Now we're going to look at one from Pössl that costs 115,000 euros. You can see it's a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more modern, has more lights maybe, has a little bit more premium touch to it, and it is pretty nice, but I'm not sure if it's worth the price. And then there is an interesting model series from Chausson or Challenger, and they're called like X650 or X600, and then they're 6.50 meters or 6 meters long, and they have a bed, a movable bed that can go up and down, and that can give you quite a big lounge in the middle of the vehicle, and then in the back you have the bathroom and a bigger storage place. What we really dislike in most of the RVs or camper vans is that the kitchen is always too small. It's like super small, you cannot really cook anything. Oh yeah, and then there was the luxury vans. I mean, look at this. This van costs around 200,000 euros. It is a brand called Roberta, and it does have incredible vans. Super fancy, super beautiful, but then also sometimes I think, do you really need this? But I think there's a market for everything, right? Especially if it comes to the camper scene. But I mean, look at the ceiling. They even put lights like this. Well, whatever. So this now here is an off-road vehicle from Roberta as well. I'd say that the interior here is a little bit more like a standard van, not as fancy as the other one, but still you could see the details, the quality, it's very nicely done. And it cost about 180,000 euros. They also had a very fancy sink that we didn't really understand how to open it.
2 hours later.
but in the end I thought it was kind of brilliant. Although the sink itself was too small, in my opinion. Finally, we also wanted to see some more RVs to see whether the space that you gain with having a larger vehicle makes it worth buying one instead of a campervan. And I do see it especially for elder people or people that want more comfort and luxury. Who knows, maybe one day we're also gonna have one. We drive a 6-meter Citroën Jumper, which is like a normal campervan, but we're also always a little bit interested in the RVs because they're slightly large and better insulated. But what I usually don't like so much about the RVs is the distribution of the bathrooms. I feel like it's way too much space used for bathrooms than you would actually need. But I also know that a lot of people are looking for exactly this. Lee's still dreaming of the classic RV where you can sleep on top of the co-pilot and pilot seat, and in the back then you have a big lounge. It is a bit sad that there are almost no models like this anymore nowadays. Most of the time you have like 2 beds and no lounge anymore. Then there was also a section with a lot of mini campers with rooftop tents, and some of them were built out, some of them were very, very basic. But I also think that it's a very good opportunity sometimes to go camping with a minivan because you can use it as well on the day-to-day basis. And now we're showing you one of Lee's all-time favorites, and this is the Ford Nugget. It's like a small campervan. This one has a fixed roof, so it's a high roof, but it also exists with a flexible high roof. And it has a complete kitchen, kind of a bathroom. Well, it has a toilet stored down there, but you can also store a dry toilet. In here it's a chemical toilet. It's really nice because you have a lot of space on the top. Even Lee can stand up easily, and you can sleep with 4 people. 2 can sleep on this bed up here, and 2 can sleep downstairs, basically. Or if you only travel with 2 people, you can just sleep on the top or bottom. I do think this one is extremely practical because you don't have to change anything from your day-to-day car to go straight to camping. You have a lot of space, but still it drives like a normal car. And now, finally, just before we wanted to leave the exhibition, Lee found one of the RVs that is still the way he likes it to be, where he has a huge lounge in the back and you can sleep on top of the co-pilot and pilot, and it even has windows on both sides. But the drawback is this vehicle costs about 160,000 euros. Yeah, so it's not quite our budget. Now we're finally coming to an end of this video, end of our very long day. We were able to visit all of the halls about campervans, and it was a very exciting day. We got a lot of new inspiration. We hope that we could inspire you as well, and you could get some insights of the exhibition. If you did like the video, please give us a thumbs up and follow our channel. Thank you so much, have a good one, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!